What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market and how this may affect NIO, and also why NIO is up over 10% at one point for today, as we do have a very big piece of news that just came out. And before I break anything down about this, before I get into any more details and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, and any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 11 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO was overall up pretty big, say, after a very big piece of news came out. It did slow down with the market as the day went on, then it continued to push up almost 6% for the day, and I do believe NIO has more potential to keep going. Now, why did NIO make such a big move? Well, the answer is this very, very awesome piece of news just came out. It basically states that NIO has the next gen battery swap station, and this actually ended up coming out earlier than expected. Let me just try to close this first. Never mind. So anyways, looking at NIO's first 10 third-generation battery swap stations will go online on March 28th, ahead of a previous announced timeline. And this is some very, very big news because they did actually unveil their third-generation power swap station on NIO Day in December, and this is actually going to come out much sooner than they would have expected. What's good about this is this actually has a new power swap mode, which increases the capability to about 408 swaps per day. That's the new capacity. That's a 30% increase compared to the second generation power swap station. So once again, it's going to make their power swap stations more efficient. They can help a lot more customers. This does actually improve their customer service, and it actually incentivizes more and more individuals to come out and buy NIO cars in China. What else is worth noting is it states right here in February that NIO expects to add 1,000 battery swap stations in 2023, as opposed to the 400 target that they announced back in December. NIO would have 2,300 battery swap stations by the year end if the forecast is achieved. So once again, NIO actually has increased their forecasts. NIO is continuing to give good products, and they are still showing some very strong fundamental improvements. Now, when it comes to the overall market, I want to add that 77.5% of the market is pricing in a 25 basis point rate hike from the Fed. And I also want to note that the Fed increased their balance sheet by about $300 billion. Now, the Fed is printing more money, or at least getting ready to do so, to help give more lifelines for the banks. One of the questions that comes to mind is how much of this money will actually benefit the American people in a way? Because when you think about it, if they're printing all this money, it's going to most likely lead to more inflation. We might see a higher CPI now thanks to what the Fed is doing. But in essence, if they are going to use this money to truly bail out the banks, the taxpayers will ultimately end up paying for it, even if they are printing it out. And on top of that, I just want to note that this also could be interpreted as a sign of desperation because the situation is pretty bad. This is actually 2 times the size of the bailout that they got, or the amount of money they had to increase their balance sheet by from 2008. Now, there is an inflationary factor, but it just goes to show how extreme measures are getting. I also want to note that what's very important is there's not too much data on Tuesday that's coming out, so I don't really think the data is going to slow us down too much. But for Wednesday, we have a huge day on Wednesday. We have the FOMC meeting. We first have the interest rate hike decision coming out at about, I think this is 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Then at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, we have the Fed conference, or the FOMC meeting. This is going to be one of the biggest meetings of the year because, first off, the Fed has increased their balance sheet. They're going to continue to most likely raise rates, in my opinion, because of that. But on top of all of this, the Fed is also going to give us more information about what they see happening to the banking situation and how this may affect the lives of banks all over the world and also everyday Americans. So this is going to be very important. If the Fed announces a pause, like for the next meeting or something, this could technically help the market rally. But if they don't talk about that, or they do mention the fact that they could end up increasing their terminal rate ultimately, it could also crash the stock market. So this is going to be a make or break event for the markets. As far as NIO goes, NIO actually had about 56 million in volume. So we had nice volume today, getting some buying pressure after the bullish news that came out. And we're going to see a big decrease in the short volume that actually ended up coming out. Overall, I did actually notice a lot more call buying for NIO. It has a relatively low puts to call ratio, and the put to call volume also tends to be very, very low too. On top of that, short volume, as that's actually decreasing, the price pairs ratio is continuing to actually bounce a bit. And I want to note what's very important is when we see this bounce, this tends to actually mark some improvement in NIO's price action from the price pairs ratio. I'm also seeing not really too much as far as data goes. We did not have the best of earnings though the last time it came out. So I'm hoping for a better earnings for the next one. Tuesdays tend to be green 55% of the time for NIO, so this is a good sign. And I'm hoping for another bullish continuation. And finally, we did actually see an increase in the short excuse me, a short interest increase, at least on Friday. I do believe this might start to come down a bit because some shorts could start covering. This could actually help NIO pump even more, or at least a little bit more. Now, what do I see happening to the markets? Well, I want to note that as far as SPY goes in the hourly time frame, we're actually above a lot of these shorter time frame EMAs. We had a strong close. There's this gap on SPY that's unfilled, and we do have a possible cup and handle forming. This could be completing a Wyckoff accumulation schematic, which means that the market might continue to push up more and fill this gap before FOMC. And if we're pumping too much as we approach FOMC, that might not be the best of signs, because you have to remember, uh, if the market, does not like what Powell says, or he like spooks the markets, everything could reverse. So be very cautious. But I do think there is a chance the market's going to chop a bit and maybe push up a little bit more for tomorrow. Amazon is also looking especially bullish. It did actually drop pretty hard on more layoff news, but it might continue to push up regardless of that. Tesla is holding up quite nicely, trying to get a really nice move in the morning. It has not fully filled its gap yet. It could actually make an attempt for tomorrow. And finally, for NIO, I am seeing some good signs. NIO has a wide open MACD on the daily. It's showing some very good strength. And as I told you guys, I told you that NIO would probably try to bounce around 8 and try to rebound a bit. My prediction was NIO would get to about 8.5 or maybe a little higher. We ended up going to 9, and then we slowed down, and then we came back up above 8.75. So NIO closed at the major level of resistance, and I believe if NIO breaks above this, we have a lot of potential to keep going. Now, please remember there is a bearish possibility just in case. The next support to watch for is going to be the 50 moving average around this 8.5 zone, very close to that. If that fails, there's 8.33, then $8 flat as support. Resistance, we have some around this 8.75 zone, so we might slow down in the morning, then try to keep going. If we keep going, then the next level to watch for is going to be this 9 to about 9.14-ish, 9.13 zone. Very, very low nines. We have some resistance. We have a supply zone. If we break it, we could get a retest of the 200 EMA, which is around this 9.37. We also have this gap up here, which could take NIO into the very low nines. So there is potential for that to happen. This could be an accumulation right here, and it might actually try to keep going. Once again, we need to break $9 and 9.1 to start getting that gap fill around the very low to mid nines. We need to actually break 9 first. That's the next very important resistance zone. All right, so those are the more bullish and bearish possibilities. What do I think is going to happen? I think NIO might slow down in the morning because it did actually pump pretty hard. Then it might get a really nice bounce as long as it could actually base at a higher point than before. Then this thing might just try to keep going, and I think it's going to fight for 9. I don't know if it's going to break it, but after the bullish news, and if the whole market does pump with it, especially Apple pumping up pretty nicely, Triple Q is up 0.35%, almost 6%. Not, I mean, it's almost 306, not 6%, almost at 306. It's almost a 0.4%. It might try to get back to this 309 area. It's very possible since it's still above these EMAs, which tells me this could help NIO get to 9, maybe even break $9. It's very, very possible. So, anyways, with that said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. I am predicting NIO is going to fight for $9 and maybe try to break above it. I don't know if we're going to break it, but if we do, I could see NIO going to about 9.3 something, 9.31 or around that area. If it fails, then it is what it is, but I do believe it's going to fight for $9 tomorrow and actually close green. With that said, thank you for listening. Have a great day. NIO to the moon, and peace out.